Donald Trump might be trying to downplay voters' concerns about affordability, but I'm here to tell you that is a ginormous error. It may be an error that goes down in political infamy.
Oh, Harry Enton. Anyway, yeah, he's not wrong though. And he's really been focusing this week on Donald Trump and the economy and what his voters are thinking about it, what the American people are thinking about it. And it's looking pretty bad. And I think as a result of that, he and the Republicans are gonna be running in the midterms, should probably be preparing for some rough times, especially when it comes to the economy. And the thing about Donald Trump is he I guess, rose in the Republican Party by bringing in people who don't generally vote, what are called low propensity voters, and getting them to think that he's different than like a Paul Ryan or a Ted Cruz. He's a regular guy, even though he's a billionaire and lives in a mansion or whatever. And the thing is, those people don't necessarily pay attention to politics that much, absent Donald Trump, but they do pay attention to their economic situation. And that's hard to ignore. They see that every day and they don't like what they're seeing. And so nearly 2/3 of registered voters, including 30% of Republicans, say, this is a recent national NBC News poll, that Trump has fallen short of their expectations on the cost of living and the economy. 2/3 of registered voters, 1 out of 3 Republicans. I think those numbers should be higher. I think that 2/3 of Republicans saying that things are going well in terms of cost of living, a lot of them are playing themselves. I mean, clearly some of them are well off. They're feeling fine. They might have even gotten a massive tax cut by Donald Trump. So those numbers could be a little bit higher, but in a cult this strong, getting 30% of Republicans to admit that things aren't going well is also not necessarily what we would have expected. So I think that that is good news. And there was a little focus group put together. NBC talked to 18 different Trump voters, and they talked about why they're not necessarily happy with Donald Trump right now. This is a 35-year-old Missouri construction worker, Billy Edmonson, who said, everything's already so expensive. That's the worst thing about his presidency so far, is he promised things coming down and prices are not coming down. I make more money than I've ever made in my life right now, and it has financially been a struggle, which is not a great position to be in. I mean, it's great that you're making the money, but like you hope that when you make all this money, things will be easy, but unfortunately not. He was probably very mad at Joe Biden for 4 years, and now a year into Trump, he's not really feeling like it's actually helped any. We have Jeremiah, a 48-year-old aerospace worker from Utah, who said, I was definitely hoping to see a lot of prices come back down, like gas for your car, diesel, utilities, groceries. I was hoping to see it all come down and level out at least, but it's not. It just keeps getting worse. And I wasn't there, I wasn't running this thing, but I would have loved to have played some of the clips of Donald Trump saying, no, you're wrong. It's a hoax. Prices have come down. Gas is $2 a gallon. I would have loved to have seen what they think about that. I don't know, it's one of the most frustrating things is their inability to see how they're being insulted by their dear leader, but I don't want to put too much pressure on them. They are acknowledging that things aren't going well, and that is progress. 66-year-old retiree Susan from Nevada said, he and his advisors claim the country is going well, prices are going down, so she's addressing what I'm talking about. The tariffs are doing wonderfully, but when you go to the store, the prices are up. And that's great that she can see through the propaganda, I love that. Beverly Lucas, a 78-year-old retired educator from Florida, said, I'm thoroughly disturbed by the government shutdown for 40-something days, adding that Trump's second term was akin to having a petulant child in the White House with unmitigated power. When people are hungry, he had a party, referring to the Great Gatsby-themed Halloween soiree. I thought he seems callous. Yes, that's exactly what's going on. And look, it's only a few people or whatever, but like, that's good. People are paying attention. We're not crazy. You're not crazy, okay? They understand that things are not going well. And I love that. Now, look, when they then ask those people, so like, what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna like turn away from Trump? Are you gonna vote for the Democrats? Most of them were like, they didn't regret their vote because they were frustrated with the Democrats, which I understand. And most said that they would continue voting red. But on our team, we think that there's a different path you could take. Don't think for a second that just the fact that you utterly despise Democrats means that you need to vote for the Republicans. There are plenty of us who regularly vote for the Democrats and we hate their stinking guts. Join us, it's fun, okay? We get together every once in a while, we even have hats. So I'm glad that they can sort of see through it. What's interesting is that some of the Republicans that might not be as hardcore MAGA might even be more gettable than some of the people in that focus group. And I want to turn to them right now. A lot of us have staked our hopes on the midterms. The idea that enough people will turn out. Democrats will be fired up, independents will switch back, and even maybe some MAGA or Trumpy voters will vote for the Democrats after they've had a year or two of what Donald Trump has been doing to America. And what's interesting is that in the elections that we just had a couple of weeks ago, some of that has already started to happen. So we have in the elections of Miss Cheryl and Miss Spanberger, two of the elections that we had just a couple of weeks ago, they both won 7% of Mr. Trump's supporters. These are previously Trump voters that in just 1 year have turned around and instead voted for a Democrat. It may not seem like much to flip 7% of Mr. Trump's backers, but consider when a voter flips, it adds one voter to one party and also deducts one from the other, making it twice as significant as turning out a new voter. And of course, you should be doing both of those things, but 7% is not nothing. That's pretty good. And remember, some of them, like Spanberger, were being smeared as like for they, them. Like they try to do all that woke identity, DEI, whatever stuff against the Democrats that they always do, that I was told was so successful in Donald Trump's campaign in 2024. And yet they ended up losing 7% of Trump's voters after just 1 year. That is significant. 7% in the midterms could be huge. That's after 1 year. Maybe it's not 7%. Maybe it's 8, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 12. It could be very significant, and I would love to see that. Now, one group that Democrats have typically, traditionally struggled with, that's rural voters. Spanberger actually did pretty well with them. Exit polling shows that she won 46% of rural voters. That is an 8-point deficit to Winsome Earl Sears, the Republican candidate, and a 19-point swing from when Terry McAuliffe had been at a 27-point disadvantage. So that is, again, very huge. Now, there is context to all of this. It's possible that that state being so close to DC and affected by the firings and all that might have a special reason to be angry at Donald Trump and at the Republicans. That's possible. We have to get more, case studies and all that. But it's still good news. Flipping some of the voters, flipping rural voters, bringing in new rural voters. And also there's the Latino vote. So we've been focusing on this. It was one of the big stories of the 2024 election. And this year, most Democratic statewide candidates won Latino voters by at least 30 points in exit polls, recreating the margins their parties held before the 2024 election, which some feared might represent a durable, maybe accelerating trend towards Donald Trump and the Republicans. At least in these elections, that doesn't seem to be the case. In New Jersey, 18% of Latino voters who backed Trump last year cast their ballot for the Democratic gubernatorial candidate. And that's sort of what I was talking about before. Like you switch over 7%, that's pretty significant. You switch over 18%, albeit of a specific demographic group, that is very significant and very good news. And that's the sort of thing that makes me so excited for Texas. We talked about that a lot on the channel recently, but remember that gerrymandered map was created to try to get as much advantage as possible, and it was based off of data from 2024. Which now is looking like it might be just a little bit out of date. And I would love nothing more than for those seats that they fought so hard and violated their ethics and all that to create, ending up electing a bunch of Democrats. That would be delicious for Texas next year. Now, finally, I'm gonna close with this. Enthusiasm overall. 44% of registered voters who call themselves Democrats say they're very enthusiastic about voting next year. Just 26% of Republicans said the same. Some 79% of Democrats said they would regret it if they didn't vote. Only 68% of Republicans said the same. And those numbers can definitely change. It's possible that Democrats have more reason to be enthusiastic because they're being hurt by everything that's happening. But the issue for Republicans in turning those numbers around is there's not gonna be any Donald Trump on the ballot. Like they can maybe get him to go out there and stump. They can get him to, do a rally or whatever. Although I would remind you, how enthusiastic has Donald Trump ever been in campaigning for other people? But what they can't do is put his name on the ballot. And that's gonna be a big issue for them. And by the way, we have probably shown this particular tweet to you 1,000 times, and we're gonna show it to you at least 100 more times before you die. But it was back in 2016, Lindsey Graham saying, if we nominate Trump, we will get destroyed and we will deserve it. Oh, I love it when Lindsey Graham is right. It's almost never happened, but when it does, it's nice. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna move on to other news in just a sec. First, I'm gonna read a comment or two. Let's see. Jeffrey says, Bonnie, you took money from a friend of Jeffrey Epstein. Their response should be you took a job from his best friend. That was in Pam Bondi's hearing. I don't know if it was it Raskin that said that to her? I don't remember. It might have been a senator, but it was a good line and I would like to see it more.